why should I be scared of them? I feel like we're kind of in this together. When I get in front of people, I feel like we're in this together. You came all the way out here to see me succeed, so you already want to rock out. Let's just go ahead and do this together. Now, if I was feeling sheepish about it, I would probably make mistakes, but the reality is there's no mistakes to be made anyways.
Hello and welcome to the Open Nose Podcast. Our study group includes me, Kiana Gerhart, Angela Thompson, and today we have an artist and performer with groove and technical sophistication, Majid Khaliq. Grab a snack and your notebook and let's get ready to study. So our first question today for you, Majid, is can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Yes, my name is Majid Khaliq. I'm from the New York City area, particularly the Bronx. And I'm here playing violin, just trying to let people groove through the sounds that I create on my violin, and the style of music I make is uh, considered jazz music.
Where did you grow up and how did that affect who you became?
Well, I was born in Manhattan, and I grew up from the age of 0 to about 5 in the Bronx, the South Bronx area, in a place called River Park Tower, which is now kind of an infamous neighborhood. A lot of the Bronx drill rappers are coming from RPT or River Park Towers. But then my family moved us out to Long Island, where I grew up in an area called Lakeview. It's in a larger town called West Hempstead, but it is the side of the town where the African American community lives. So I grew up in Lakeview, Long Island.
My parents lived in Northport for a few years. So I commute. I was in Boston, and so I
Oh,
commuted to Long Island a lot over the
nice,
years. So,
nice, nice. Long Island's an interesting place. And how did it how did growing up in Long Island contribute to my music making? It contributed a lot. I grew up in the 90s and the 80s, so I'm not a 2000 kid. I was already in college and getting out of college by then. But I grew up in the 80s and in the 90s. So in the 80s, I saw, the big hair, and I went to the mall and I listened to Billy Joel and all of those all of the UK bands, and that stuff really influenced my music. I really love the music of the 80s. I mean, it's so memorable. Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, and all of these phenomenal musical influences, as well. Hip hop. Hip hop is, I remember receiving my first record, which was Curtis Blow. I remember my dad came in, he was like, we lived in RPT, and right across the street was Sedgwick, which is where hip hop was born. My dad came and was like, "Yeah, these guys do these parties over there, and I hear them rapping. And this is a guy who raps over there all the time. This guy by Curtis Blow." And I remember receiving it. It was a yellow record. Curtis was in the middle, and it was phenomenal. And I remember being super influenced by that. And my dad is a humongous audiophile, so we had Coltrane and all of that, but we now had Sugar Hill Gang. We had these guys, which were neighborhood guys, in the house rocking with us. It was a
wow.
good time. Yeah, living in New York. New York is a really inspirational place musically to grow up in. So, yeah.
And I still have Sugar Hill Gang on my iPhone, so
Yeah.
that has stayed with me for a decades. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's the bedrock of the art form. So even like people who don't necessarily think that they have any connection to the older stuff, they call old school, the new guys that are coming out. You got so many of them, young drill rappers and things like that. It's so in the culture, that, you know, it comes out in all of that music, like, the call and response. So yeah, it's very inspirational time. I mean, New York is kind of a great place musically.
Listening to your music and watching the YouTube shorts, that kind of sent me down it brought back some memories of music that I listened to in the 80s. Al Jarreau, Chuck Mangione, those just kind
Oh
of
yeah,
resonated, and flew back, and I ended up buying a few few albums when I was like, oh, I haven't heard this in a long time. This is wonderful. So
great music.
yeah.
Well, now that you're saying about all these musicians and maybe the memories that you've had with this, so when you compose music and perhaps you have an emotional high, like with something great in your life that happened, perhaps the birth of your child or children, or when you got married, or maybe low when maybe you received a failure of some sort in your field, or maybe that first time um, a bouncer tried to if you off your money. Do you compose music based on those emotions, and are you influenced by that?
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is they say art reflects life, life mimics art, something like that. Was it art? It's one of those wonderful sayings. But the reality is I have to write music from my experience. I did write a composition, which was the theme of my second album for my daughter. This is my second album, but it's called I write so many compositions. What is it called? That's silly. Sound of a Flower. There's a music video. I know I'm terrible. I wrote a whole music video of it and everything. You can look that up. It's a beautiful story um, with orchestra. It's called Sound of a Flower. And I wrote that for my daughter's birth. And for my son's birth, I wrote a number of pieces, but one in particular. Well, I've written my daughter a number of pieces, but for my son's birth, I wrote a piece called um, T-Bomb, and that's going to be on my upcoming album, which should be out in the fall. So we're right now really dashing to the end for that to get that done and put that out. We're trying to put together a small movie, a short film to accompany the release of the album, which is produced by Lenny White. But I also wrote something for my marriage. Remember when I was married, I wrote a duet that my wife and I played at our wedding in Japan. So it was wonderful. So I like to write. Recently I changed jobs for a place where I'd been teaching for a number of years, and I wrote a piece. That's what Purple Sun is from. I wrote a piece just commemorating that moment. And I do this often. If I run into a person who's very influential, or if I have a situation, I write. I write a lot too. So I like to have that. The best music I hear, I feel, comes from your personal experience. So.
You mentioned Lenny
Oh,
White. What has been his influence on your music and your career?
Well, Lenny White in the last 3 years in particular, he's really like he's been my fourth album, which we completely recorded it. Literally, I was on the phone with him yesterday. We almost twice, 3 times a week trying to really put it together. He's influenced me in a number of ways. He's one of the founding members of Return to Forever, which is a really well-known fusion band, which was put together initially by Chick Corea and Stanley Clark, but he won 2 Grammys with them, and he just encourages me to be really, really strong in my translation of what I hear music to be. He also encourages me to be fearless in the face of music being overly corporatized. And I think that music is being unbelievably corporatized, and musicians are not taking hold of that narrative. They're allowing the corporate interests to move the culture around, which was never the case, especially for my culture, which is what jazz music comes from. We all always, the people always dictated where the culture went, what the culture liked, what the people wanted to see, what they wanted to rock and nod their heads to, what they wanted to dress in, how cool they needed to be. The culture always dictated that. When the corporate interests start to dictate that, then the music loses all of its flavor. And if music isn't flavorful, intriguing, it's not even worth indulging in. If somebody can tell you how to groove that has nothing to do with your culture and your music, then we've got an issue. So he's been very, very much integral in guiding me toward a certain sort of idealism. And I think that we've been doing pretty well thus far, and I hope to do much, much more. He's a senior statesman. He's one of our eldest statesmen. He's 75 years old, and so we want to be able to spend time with each other, not just making music, but hanging out and talking, but absolutely making music for our culture. So he's definitely my North Star.
Wonderful. Well, then, you recently were in Tokyo promoting your album.
Yeah.
Could you tell us, how are the crowds in Tokyo or Japan broadly different than they are in New York or the United States?
Oh wow, Japan overall is really different, but the crowds in Tokyo are super civilized. They're super civilized in the sense that they really like if there's an order of things, they're following that order. So like for instance, if let's say in the middle of a piece you try to get the crowd kind of rocking and going and get them standing and they won't do that. They'll be looking around at you like what is he asking me to do? Because primarily in a jazz concert, you don't do this. If it was a rock concert, they might be, yeah, but a designated time. You can't really get them to move around too much, although I was really successful a couple of times. I had people screaming, but that person was drunk. But that's okay. I mean, we're not gonna. We were having a good time, and he was having a good time too. But they're really respectful of the music. They really love jazz music. They love what we have to bring. But overall, they're really a tamed crowd. You can't really whip them into too much of a frenzy at all. So, and I know this to be true because also my daughter went to what was it, TXT concert last year, which is TXT is a K-pop group, which she loves K-pop. So she was at a TXT concert and she's like, no one was getting crazy. Everyone was kind of like just clapping when they needed to. Everyone was like in sync, moving their batons. And then when she went to a Stray Kids concert here in Flushing, Queens, she's like, people were screaming from the beginning to the end of it, just crazy. She was like, "Oh, I much prefer to like go to the one in Queens than the one in Japan because I could get crazy." And I was like, "I understand."
My daughter went to an 80s concert maybe about a month ago. And we were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and apparently it was ranked in the area as one of the loudest concerts that they'd ever had. And she was so proud to be part of that group. Yes, very different cultural personalities. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. It's a different place. It's a wonderful place, but one has to really embrace the fact that they're feeling things honestly,
Mhm.
but they're expressing those feelings in a different way.
Mhm. That's
And I
nice.
appreciate the way they express it. So,
Yeah.
shouts out to Japan.
Nervous performing, and is there a difference of your experience of performing your own music versus someone else's?
Well, I used to get really nervous. But I underwent kind of a metamorphosis in my playing a long time ago, about 30 years ago. A metamorphosis in my playing that allowed me to, I literally, I only think about executing really good music. So I don't get nervous. Um, Not at all. I'm super laser focused on what I need to do to execute. And so I don't really get nervous. I get maybe a couple of hours before I get some anticipation. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But as I get closer, the focus becomes more and more on what I need to do rather than how. And what I mean by what I need to do is part of the reason why I don't get nervous is because part of what I need to do is to get to the crowd. And if I'm scared of the crowd, there's no way I'm gonna get to them. Not at all. I need to be able to feel them, and I need to be able to do things that make them feel me. And that's part of my focus. So I don't feel like why should I be scared of them? I feel like we're kind of in this together. You know, when I get in front of people, I feel like we're in this together. You came all the way out here to see me succeed, so you already want to rock out. Let's just go ahead and do this together. Now, if I was feeling sheepish about it, I would probably make mistakes, but the reality is there's no mistakes to be made anyways.
Mm. Ah.
There are really no mistakes to be made. I think that the mistakes that are made are all in your mind.
Mhm.
You know, that's how life is anyways. There are
Mhm.
no mistakes to be made. Like, what
Mhm.
mistake? I mean, yeah, there are only lessons to be learned.
Very deep. Absolutely love that.
Thank you.
Um, so do you have a particular songs now that have meaning to you that are you're really really are resonating with you at this time?
My music or other music?
Either.
Well, most certainly my music. I have this album that I've been working on, which is now 8 tracks long. But the title of the track, the title of the album is called The King's Zodiac. The King's Zodiac is a three movement piece featuring Sania, who's a wonderful vocalist who just recently graduated from Juilliard, which is my alma mater, and a unbelievable Brooklyn-based underground rapper by the name of Dime a Dozen. It's
Mhm.
phenomenal. The ensemble is my band, which is violin, keys, bass, and drums, and the extension of my band, which is a string quartet. And this particular piece, the title track of the album, The King Zodiac, is about Martin Luther King's early life
Mhm.
from when he was born to when he was applying for Morehouse. And not many people really kind of uh, take the time to talk about that aspect of the man. Like you were talking earlier, what made you, because people want to know what created you. This is a creation story. And so, you know, it's before all of the activism that we now know, and we're proud that he did. But it's about what created a Martin Luther King, what created him, what made him do the things that he did. So the first movement is called Genesis, Michael King Jr., because his name was Michael King when he was born.
Mhm.
Um, The second movement is called Martin's Violin, which he studied violin and he studied piano, which shaped
Mhm.
much of his musical life and his ability to understand things musically. And the last movement is called Luther's Moonwalk into the House of Moors. And so he's moonwalking into the House of Moors, and that's the culmination of it. So, and that's kind of been really on my mind. And I'm shooting a music video for it. We have a shot next week on Sunday and 2 weeks later on Saturday. And we're going to try to put a longer story behind the whole album, because really the album, The King Zodiac, is about how I actually am living that whole year and creating the music. Well, I think that music is important to society because it helps humanize. It helps to humanize. And I think that we're in a patch historically in America where we're dehumanizing each other. And we're allowing our social media places and spaces to greater dehumanize us.